This video was a long time coming. I think it's safe to say that a majority of us do not rock with S Plus in any way. If we see an S Plus playlist, we are declining that thing immediately. No questions asked. I remember one time I was playing with a guy in free roam and dude had the audacity to throw up an S tier playlist. Bro, when I tell y'all that he was kicked out the party and I left the lobby 2 seconds later, I'm not lying. When I see someone throw up an S Plus tier playlist, I feel disrespected. I feel disgusted. I'll start feeling delirious. All that to say that today's video is going to be covering not why S Plus is super trash. We already have a video on that. Today's video is going to be diving into the tracks on S Plus, which make the already trash tier even worse. How is that even possible? How do you have a part of the video game that is already bad, and then you start adding tracks to it that make it even worse? Why are we not adding these tracks to any other tier in the game? Why in the world is S Plus getting new tracks more than A plus, A, or S? Shoot, I'd even take B tier tracks over the abomination that S Plus is. Sure, it may be a skill issue on my part, but remember, these are my opinions, so treat them as such. Besides that, if you all enjoy, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. 700 coming real soon. And this is day 210 of me still not making a 600 sub post. But y'all know in your hearts that I am thankful. With all of that being said, let's get into the top 5 worst tracks in S Plus. The first track has to be Gotta Be Kidding Me. This track actually made me start crashing out live on stream when I first played it. Who in their right mind thought, those train tracks we added above the actual streets that cars are supposed to drive on? Yeah, let's make that into a race. Let's make the train tracks that are 2 feet wide into a race for cars that have insanely large body kits, aka the Bugatti, and are extremely long. But the crazy part is that it's not just a race. It is a race for the fastest freaking cars in the entire game. Who the heck thought driving 200 miles per hour over some stupid train tracks was a good idea? Why is this even a thing? I thought the whole point of having a car with 1,000 plus horsepower in the game was to be able to use that 1,000 horsepower. Where are we going to use it? The track is designed in such a way that you are speeding up and slowing down within 2 to 3 seconds of each other. I have never had to e-brake so many times in 2 minutes than I've had when playing on this one race alone. Let's not forget that the dev team couldn't even have mercy on us and left a moving train on the tracks as well that you need to avoid. Think of the rapid transit train before the nerf. You know, when the train would cover up the entire section that you needed to go on to turn, and you have half an idea of how bad it is for the S Plus track. We haven't even talked about the physics that the car is going through when riding quite literally on the rails. Think about it like you are constantly going over curbs in a race, and your car is bouncing up and down constantly. That is the experience you will be having for the greater part of 4 minutes. I personally have only done this track about 5 times, so of course I'm not a master of it, but I surely do not want to be one either. This track deserves the #1 spot. The next track is Apex Predator. Here we have another track that got so many twists and turns in it that it might as well not even be an S Plus track. You spawn in at the starting line, speed up, and immediately have to slow down again. I don't know about you all, but when I pick my Regera, my Lotus, my McLaren, I want to see the speedometer in the 200s, not the 50s. If I'm going to be real about this track though, the design is not bad, but what cooks it is the fact that it is in the highest tier in the game. I think that if this track was an A or A+, it would have been one of the better ones in the game, to be honest. But as it stands right now, this track is poop. I would really like to know what went through Criterion's head when making this, and I would really like to meet the person who tested the S Plus car for this track and race. What did the track tester use? A dang B tier Civic he brought up to S Plus? I'm even in half a mind to think that the track wasn't even tested the way that some of the terrain is raised above the rest of the track. How am I on the same piece of pavement, but the left side of my car is raised higher than the right side of my car? I will say though that one of the funniest parts about this track is the section right after the tunnel when you are driving down the hillside, and if you don't be careful, you could literally fly off the front of the cliff. The way they set racers up like that is hilarious, because the entire race you are having to slow down and speed up, and then when they finally give you some room to speed up, it turns out to be a painful slap in the back of the neck after you just got some alcohol from a fresh cut. There have been so many times I, as well as others, friends and randoms alike, that just flew straight off the track. Man, just thinking about it now, there were so many portions of the track that were just so cringe. This track had to be at number 2. After that, we have track number 3, which is on rails. Yes, the exact same on rails that is in S that people hate as well. Why? That is the only question I have for this. Why? I cannot describe to you all the level of pain and agony I have experienced on the first left turn by the gas station, as well as the right turn before the bridge, where you have to cross over all the sidewalk things. First of all, the traffic that is moving as well as the parked cars on the sides of the road should be illegal, and whoever thought it was cool to add those needs to be locked up in whatever place they got El Chapo at. The traffic at the beginning is not too bad, but the traffic towards the end that crosses the road as your car is going 200 is straight demonic work by the track designers. Clearly someone peed in their bowl of cereal that morning, or they hopped on and got beat by someone in S-Class on that same track. Or you know what? Maybe they thought it would be cool to have faster cars on the track when fast cars were already struggling on it. No, it was not cool. I will be the first one to tell you that on rails has been a hated track in the serious racing community for a very long time now. And in fact, it is so hated that people literally back out of PvP lobbies to try and not race when it pops up. I know for a fact they can see how many times each playlist in the game gets played, because that was the whole reason that they took out Serial Thriller, one of the OG S tier playlists. Apparently the best S tier playlist in the game wasn't being played enough, so they took it out, but they leave the playlist with on rails alone? Someone is doing crack. Number 4 is Headliner, or what I like to call the wall hack track. Why do I call it this? Because all you have to do is literally ride the guardrails for the entire track. I am not kidding. Go look up people doing runs on this track and it will trigger you. You guys think that Ostinato is bad with it being a gigantic oval? Imagine a track where it is a bunch of twists and turns and you just ride the wall the entire way to the finish line. I cannot make this up. Some of the ways these tracks were designed just make me think that they were all at one point designed for lower tiers, but then the devs realized they didn't make enough S plus tracks, so they raised all the ones we've talked about in this list into the higher tiers. I'm thinking their thinking was, if it works with the A tier Range Rover, it must somehow work with the 1000 horsepower S plus tier Regera. Yep, absolutely. Now, one thing I will say that is cool about this track that the other tracks can't relate to is that there is no traffic to worry about. You are free to do your wall riding cheesing in peace. It's always funny because there will be some people out there that will send up the race and then request people to not do the cheese method. But I mean, like, come on, bro, be real. The track is known for being 100% wall grinding and 0% real racing. I do believe that there are a few people out there that do race the track legit and say that it is faster, but I don't know. Nor am I going to go through the torture of finding out. All I know is, when this track was first discovered and we finally got the money to race Regeras on it, the second the cheese was discovered, it ruined it for everyone. I needed this track to be on the list at number 4 for sure. Last but not least, we have number 5, which is a toss-up between the God Hour and Get High, Get Low. Dude, what the actual F were the people in the studio cooking up? Because that food is burnt. Do not serve that to people. Don't ever cook again unless you are taking those tracks and bringing them down to A tier. First, we have the God Hour, which starts off cool, and then you realize that you will be going over curbs and dodging traffic, which may not seem too bad until you think you are finally able to drive at full speed since you see a straightaway. You then see a bridge and it's up, and you think, there is no way that they would put a sharp right turn right after the bridge when I am in a car that goes over 200 miles per hour. Surely that continues into another straightaway, right? Well, you're wrong. Very wrong. Indeed, they have you jumping off a bridge after a straightaway right into a sharp right turn, which leads into another sharp right turn, which leads into another sharp right turn, and all of that has traffic that is itching to hit you. Evil, buddy. Evil. That is the word I can use to describe that sequence of events on that track. Then we have Get High, Get Low, which also starts off fine until you are traveling through the woods trying to get back on the track because the road veers off to the right and you're cutting onto dirt. The turns that you take on this track are hilariously bad, and in my opinion, I think this should have been in the Rumble playlist. I remember the first time I ever tried this track, I was so dumbfounded, I just didn't talk for a solid few minutes on stream after completing it. I was just in shock. I didn't know what I did, but all I did know was that it was terrible. Both of these tracks were fighting for a spot on the list, and I could not decide which was the worst of the two. And honestly, it's like two sides of the same coin. As said in the videos previous to this one, clearly this was made in good fun, and if you think these tracks are amazing, then by all means, continue to think that. If you got butthurt or felt a strong desire to type skill issue after watching, then just know your comment will be sitting with no response until I hit 100K. Speaking of, if you all enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let me know what tracks you guys can't stand. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.